Bird! Get him! Yeah! Ron Babe was right.
I'm feeling spry. Hey everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. It is the 1st of March. Man, it feels good. I mean, we're getting some sunshine. We had some heat. Well, heat being like 38 degrees in Michigan. But the snow's melting. I'm seeing more grass than I'm seeing snow. End of this week, I think we're going to have all of our snow gone. Oh, it's just like finally. Now, I know we could get dumped on one more time, but it isn't going to last. And now it's time to start thinking about everything we need for the training and hunting season coming up, which, of course, includes the title sponsor of this show, Onyx Hunt. If you don't have it, which I know 99% of you do, but if you don't have it, or if you're going to renew, you can use a promo code HDP20 and get 20% off your elite membership. Don't be lollygagging about that stuff, okay? If there's three things you need, it's a gun, it's a dog, because you can hunt birds without a dog, but you can't hunt birds without a gun. Ideally, you want to have the dog. And then third, if you're going to travel, if you're going to find new places, you need Onyx. Okay? They're the best. Just like Gunner Kennels. They were at Pheasant Fest. They're the best. You are not going to get a better kennel on the market than Gunner Kennels. Period. Call me up. We can do a side-by-side test. Doesn't matter. Nobody makes a kennel like Gunner Kennels, let alone their food crates and food bowls and bumpers and dog beds and all the other stuff they make. Gunner Kennels is the number one, just like Onyx is the number one mapping program. Garmin, I don't even have to tell you that's number one. You know everywhere you go. Yeah, not everybody uses Garmin, but everybody knows what they're doing that wants the best uses Garmin. Same thing with Canine Athlete and Wilderness Athlete. You want the best supplements for you and your dog, you go to Canine Athlete. And you can get 25% off on your first purchase with the promo code Canine Athlete. Not hard to remember. K9 Athlete. And I don't have to spell, if I have to spell athlete for you, you shouldn't have a dog. Mossberg was at Pheasant Fest. They had their whole lineup, the best lineup, the most diverse lineups of shotguns. I saw their new 16 gauge. I'm going to have one of those in my hands pretty soon. Can't wait to start shooting that one. Boss Shot Shells was not there, but they are the best. Their copper loads, and they just came out with another version of their copper load. I'll go into it next week. I'm going to try to get Brandon to come back on the podcast and talk about fine-tuning. Boss Shot Shells approaches ammunition like NASCAR engineers approach engines. Like, do you think we could get another mile per hour out of that car? Yeah. Do you think you could get another 2% of density out of your pattern? And Brandon says, yeah, I think we can. That's what they're the best. Purina Pro Plan. Let's not even argue that. It's the best. You can go find other brands. Nobody has been doing it as long as Purina and gives back to the dog world like Purina does. Nobody. Call me up, write me an email. I'll go toe-to-toe with you. From habitat conservation to every sporting event to every show event, everything, Purina backs us up. They back us up, and I back them up. Pike Gear, back in the lineup. They were at Pheasant Fest. They have some of their new pants out, new shirts, some fishing gear. They're coming up with their new Hell's Canyon, their Hell's Canyon vest. Just an improvement, just a tweak on their vest. I've been using their vest for many years now. And I even set my buddy Jeff Funky to go over and talk to Brent. Jeff is the founder of the Versatile Hunting Dog Federation and hunts Hell's Canyon, lives in Idaho. And I said, I want you to go over and talk to Brent, and I want you to look at this vest, and you tell him if there's something you don't like about it. Didn't hear any complaints about it. Look at their new vest. Arxis boots, oh, they weren't there, but they should have been. But it was just unfortunate timing with family and everything else. They are the best rubber boot. Arxis, A-R-X-U-S, ArxisUSA.com. That's Jack Butler, who brought us Gum Leafs. Gum Leafs is gone, and he found Arxis. Everything I'm telling you is the best. I mean, they're just I can't tell you what a pleasure it is to have this lineup of sponsors that bring this show to you. And hey, look I'm getting this done in 5 minutes. So come on, that's not bad. The only thing I can't get to you across this country, I mean, you can order Boss, you can order Purina, you can find Purina in stores, you can find a Mossberg, you can order Canine Athlete, you can get a Garmin anywhere, you can order a Gunner Kennel, you can go online and get your Onyx map. You just can't get Watermark beer anywhere. I'm sorry. This is a Michigan secret. I just picked up on my way home from Minneapolis, picked up another barrel of my Mexican Bodega Lager. I'm having one right now, if you can't tell. I don't think you can tell. It's only on my second glass. And I'm going to get a list pretty soon of the stores that you can find in Southwest Michigan, because this is starting to expand a little bit. And I'm telling you, I am not a beer aficionado. I'm a beer professional. There isn't a beer that they make that I won't drink. Watermark Brewery in Stevensville, Michigan. If you got a chance to find it in a store, and I'll get you a list probably within the next week, or just stop over there, get off at exit 22 on 994, go there, ask for Justin, talk to the bartenders, tell me you're a friend of mine. I'll buy you your first beer. First. And if you're like me, I'm only going to offer the first. Yeah, I mean, come on, really. And I met, oh my God, I can't believe how many patrons of this show that I got to see at Pheasant Fest. And, I never get to meet them all except on the Zoom rooms, and that's only 10% of them. And it's just, don't miss out on anything. If you're getting ready for next season, you need Onyx, a Gunner Kennel, a Garmin collar, Canine Athlete, a Mossberg shotgun, Boss shot shells, Purina Pro Plan, Plate gear, Arxis boots on your feet, and you need to be a Patreon member. Patreon. Look it up. You'll figure it out. I'm not going to walk you through it. If you're that, yeah, you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, this podcast, it was a lot of fun. I was actually a little apprehensive to do it, only because sometimes I kind of get like a grumpy old man about youth hunting, but I raised 3 youths, and 2 of them hunt. And Andy came up with something that is really different in the hunting world. Now, he's a bird hunter, but he was a snowboarder before he was a bird hunter, and he worked in the action sports. But I absolutely love doing this podcast with him and getting his passion for what we all do and live and breathe, whether you're brand new or whether you've been doing it for 50 years like me. This is what we need out here. And you're going to hear all about Chowie. Not Chewy, as I keep screwing up. Chowie. You're going to keep hearing about Chowie. You're going to start seeing Chowie. And anyway, I love you guys. I love you girls. I do love you patrons all just a little more. And for those patrons who only listen and don't get their emails, we're going to have our next Zoom room on March 12th, where we just shoot the shit for about 3 hours on a Thursday night, and we just have fun. It's like an extension of Bird Camp. All right, on with the show.
Hey, everybody, it's Ron Bain with the Hunting Dog Podcast. I'm on a Zoom call with Andrew Blumberg, formerly known as Andy, and I'm going to refer to him as Andy for the rest of the podcast, but on his title on my, it's Andrew Blumberg. Andrew reached out to me. See, I already said it wrong, but that's what I do. Andy reached out to me with an email a couple weeks ago about I guess we want to call it well, Andy, why don't you take it away? What do you call it? A movement, vision for kids and youth and hunting and your story, but kind of let's get Chowie explained first before we lose the people.
Very good. Hey, Ron, thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor. Have listened to the Upland Institute and Hunting Dog podcast and certainly seen your exploits on
meat eater stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. So, Chowie is a youth-focused hunting brand and platform. The intention is a sort of retainment and recruitment engine for youth. And when we look at kind of the numbers of participants in hunting, we've got kids 6 to 12, 13 to 17 making up 1.8 million participants, 20% of all hunter participants, and nearly half of all hunters started within that demographic, something like 49%. Yet there's not a single youth-focused brand. And with so much riding on the shoulders of our youth, the future of conservation funding really, and a lot of things sort of conflicting in terms of their attention, the trajectory doesn't look good. So it's not simply about retainment, it's about recruitment. And I think that there's opportunities in sort of crossover to different audiences that are already participating outdoors and bringing more youth into the fold of fall.
And with Chowie, you can get the backstory of that in a minute because it's an odd name, but why not an odd name? I mean, it's like, to your point earlier, all the conservation orgs have youth days or youth, but it's not concentrated on the youth. It's concentrated on the adult members. And this almost seems like a kid stepping stone to any of the orgs. Just the way I looked at it, and I looked at the website and with the clothing that you offer for youth and the designs, not that they're stick figures and it's not something off of South Park, okay? But it's you've catered to everybody that has a kid out there that would like to wear, like when I go somewhere, if I see somebody wearing First Light, I go, "Hey, you at least go hike outside." Is part of this goal to like kids can wear this as an identification almost. It's like I'm a hunter, I'm a fisherman, I'm a hike, whatever. Is that part of that?
Very much. It's a jumping off point for those kids that would like to get into hunting. It's the intent or the hope is that it's an identity piece, and it's right now we're doing aspirational graphics in our logo wear as our prototypes for outerwear are coming along, and so it's messaging and graphics that kind of smack of action sports.
Yeah.
Skateboarding, snowboarding, surfing, and all those are aspirational in inequality, whether or not those people wearing it actually participate in those things.
But they at least look like they want to, right? I mean, like you have was it a snowboarding or skate? I forget when you were young. I said you had a misspent youth. Was it snowboarding?
So I've been in and out of the action sports industry for 30 years. I'm the former editorial director of Trans World Snowboarding magazine. So there's been a lot of exposure to youth culture and that movement and brands in that space. And I'm bringing that to hunt.
Which nobody's done that I know of. And I'm not an expert in the apparel or the outdoors, but being a podcaster and I kind of follow a lot of things, I've never seen anything. You could find things for children, but there's no like one-stop shop source for kids. And I know, like you mentioned, and we'll talk about it, maybe in the middle and at the end of this, and I'll send this out in the show links. I could see my 3 oldest grandchildren, because they're both of their dads and moms hunt. I could see them wanting it, just because, you know what I mean? But that's kind of like it's kind of like the drug dealer in the playground, right?
Give them a taste.
give it a little taste. Like, yeah, look at mom, dad. You can't get this logo in a size that fits you. It only fits me and my friends my age, right? And that,
Right.
I think it's not. You didn't just take stuff that we've bought and we identify. Um, you made it to where a kid's like, yeah, and my brain goes all over. I always picture some kid that's got to change schools, moves away from his friends, goes to a new school, and he's wearing a Chowie t-shirt, and the other kid in the lunchroom's got a Chowie t-shirt on, and he can gravitate right toward him. You know?
Certainly.
Yeah.
Well, we have community and we have connection, and we can see that walking the streets and in somebody wearing a proprietary pattern from
Yeah.
one of the adult brands.
Sure, sure. So
And-
where did it come from? I'm gonna forget about it.
Sure.
Chowie.
So
Chowie. Chowie.
so I can be kind of verbose AF, and as a storyteller myself, but I'll try to be sort of succinct and with it. I'm born raised LA, no father, no path to hunting. Uh, my mom was a Berkeley hippie and a poet. Uh, my grandfather was a fine artist. My uncle was a musician, but I had an expressed interest in hunting. And as the as the Sufi poet Rumi spoke of, once you begin to walk the path becomes clear. And I met a surrogate grandfather who grew up in Washington State. He was a World War II Navy vet, but he grew up hunting. And there were just stories. Most of his hunting was done at that point, but we would spend time together. We would fish, and oftentimes we'd be out and we might encounter a covey of quail unexpectedly, as you do,
Yeah.
or a little forked horn walk across the road, and he would shoulder an imaginary shotgun or rifle and bead or aim and say Chowie, and that was sort of the report of that weapon and a call to a meal as chow.
Yeah.
And so it's paying homage
Mhm.
to that grandfather. uh, I went to school at Humboldt State University for fisheries and wildlife. I had an interest in being a photographer or warden or biologist, and then went into the journalism program at Humboldt, and thinking field and stream and outdoor life
Yeah.
as a future, and kind of got close to that, interviewing with Peterson's Hunting and Guns and Ammo back in the early 90s, but then got sidelined by snowboarding and all but put down rod and gun.
Well, we're gonna forgive you. We're gonna
Yeah.
forgive you for that one, Andy. But
And go ahead.
keep going. No, keep going.
And so this is sort of a very interesting narrative arc for me personally and professionally. I've been an entrepreneur going on 24 years. And a couple of years ago, without the expectation of building a new business, but as a brand architect, I had the name Chowie, a little bit of product innovation, and certainly an awareness of the opportunity in the space.
Yeah.
I mean, right now we have predominantly adult brands that do a few takedown pieces for kids.
Right.
And these businesses are primarily and understandably margin uh, driven, not
Yeah.
not mission driven so
Right.
much.
Right. Definitely margin driven.
There's alignment, and we're in business to make money and that sort of thing. But doing youth is often a conversation, from what I'm told. But the sort of cost of goods are similar to adults, but the price point ceiling is makes it kind of prohibitive, so people don't do it. But I reached out on a Friday, early fall in 2023, to the current Meat Eater CEO, because I really like what Steve's done, Renella's done, and that whole sort of brand content ecosystem, and felt a real sort of kinship. And so I proposed building something for them, uh, and didn't know if I'd hear back from Jason. It was a cold outreach.
Right.
Thought maybe I'd get bounced or just ghosted. And by 8 p.m. Mountain Time on that Friday, I heard back with interest, and that sort of set this course.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I can't get his letter back from Steve Rennell himself that quick, and I've known him for 35 years. So you did good, Andy. You did real good. Now, not to say this is owned by or part of Meat Eater.
No, there is nothing there between us other than a rapport and an appreciation for what they're doing, and an acknowledgement and appreciation for what I'm doing. I mean, my understanding with things that Steve has said over the years is if he only could hunt one season going forward, it would be youth.
Yeah, it would be with his kids or other kids. Yeah,
Mhm.
I've heard him say the same thing. I would put that to a litmus test, knowing Steve, but if you say it, you certainly mean it. And I know he puts a lot of effort into his kids' seasons right now. Less effort into his season, and kind of like we were talking before we hit record. You're talking about teaching your son to fish, and you lose a lot of time trying to teach a child to fish. You lose a lot of your personal fishing time, but it's not because you're trying to make the next fisherman. I think it's because you want them eventually to like it as much as you like it. Not to like it more, not to be bigger in the industry, just it's something that gives you a lot of joy, and it's something that I know for kids, like fishing is almost always the first step, right? It's rare that a kid's gonna go, yeah, I never fished. I never fished a bluegill with a bobber, but my dad got me a 12 gauge when I was, you know what I mean? So that fishing, I've already done that with a couple of my grandkids. Just took them out across the street in a little pond. They didn't know what they were doing. I was doing all the work for it, and I got a smile off each of their face, although one was FOMO'd because the girl, my granddaughter, was catching more fish than my grandson. But that's just another problem we have to deal with. So, you might have to have gender specific little kids clothes someday. I'm just saying, you might have to.
Well, women's is, I believe, in hunt, the sort of category that is seeing a lot of growth.
Oh yeah, 100%. And it still doesn't get the for the percentage that's in and the percentage that is growing. I know friends of mine, I have quite a few women that come on the show regularly, and I mean, they still say, like, I'm still wearing like a lot of men's clothing. So maybe we'll kickstart it where by the time all these kids are old enough, it'll all be out there for the girls and the boys that are teenage years.
For sure. I think that, and this isn't sort of shots fired, but having a perspective on action sports, brands, and outdoor and hunt as well. And when I speak outdoor, it's Patagonia and Colombia and those sorts of things. I think there are systemic issues, not to get too down the rabbit hole, kind of in terms of industry and business and whatnot, but I think a lot of product has been marginalized, and I think that it's hard to sort of differentiate one product from another across all the different brands that are out there. And I see a lot of fatigue, and I see things that are formulaic, and it's just that's how we've done it, so that's how we're going to do it forward.
Yep.
And so my take is different, and it's not for everyone, but I do feel very confident in what I'm doing, and the narrative, the storytelling through brand, through product, and in that way. I think hunting it is for everyone. I mean, it's inherent.
It could be. I mean,
It's
certainly could be.
it's inherent in our lineage. But it's fine if not everyone does it. we see an opportunity to, again, kind of poetically bring more into the fold of fall, to instill a self-reliance, a self-sufficiency, a connection to food, a biological study of whatever it is you might be pursuing outdoors for these kids.
Yeah.
And sort of segueing a bit, I really think that one of the jumping off points too is through a dog.
Oh yeah, 100%. That could take up the whole rest of the podcast. I mean, speaking from my side, my three daughters are all grown and they have their own kids now. But I remember when I would come home with a couple pheasants or a couple ducks, they weren't out with me, but they were old enough to want to help pluck it, help skin it, help hold it. And I like I at least I don't think I was like, "Oh, they're going to want to be with me someday." But I never really asked them to do it. They just saw dad's been gone for a few hours, dad's home. What's he doing out on the back porch? And like it got to be a thing looking in the bird's crop. They wanted to see what the bird was eating. And all little kids, I remember, I can't remember who said this because I'm not good at remembering details, but some person said that like if you took a first grade classroom and you put down like a mechanical puzzle and then you put a frog on the other table, the whole first grade class is going to run to the frog, right? I mean, maybe one of them would go over and figure out the Rubik's Cube. I don't want to say they wouldn't, but nature in itself is attractive to children. So why wouldn't hunting and fishing be a natural path? Where it can be done. Yeah.
Well, there's that curiosity
Mhm.
for the kids and for myself in introducing them as becoming a father. I came back into it all. It wasn't with some plan that they become outdoors people, as much as it was instilling an appreciation, a regard for that natural environment, for creation.
Yeah.
And what transpires when you're quiet and in the woods or the fields, and the stories that emerge
Yeah.
uh, from that, and the learning that happens
Yeah.
in that way as well. But my kids are into it.
Did you
And they-
did you
so
try to follow up? I know you told me you took your son fishing. I mean, they got to be kind of old enough not to put the hook in your ear every time they cast, but I think you said your son was like 6 years old. You started taking him fishing. I think that's an age where they can physically at least learn to cast and everything. How about your daughter? Did your daughter get out there with you as early or as late or?
she got out there early as well, and there was some. I mean, there's competition between siblings, and my son. We were fishing one day out of Depot Bay, Oregon, and on a party boat, and the adults just started calling him the machine. I mean, he was just bringing up one fish after another. So inevitably, wherever we go, he is slaying. And so with my daughter, it took her a while to catch that first fish, even putting her in the same spots and all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And funny story, we were, and so it was frustrating for her. We were somewhere at one point, and she couldn't do any wrong, and he couldn't catch a fish for the life of him. I mean, switched spots between each other. She'd catch where he wasn't, switch raw, all of that. I mean, it brought him to tears.
Yeah.
But it was it was earned for her, and uh, he started going afield, just scouting with me for deer in the coastal range of California at about 3.5. So, but even before then, he was fishing, and the same thing with her. I wanted to give them both the opportunity and the trajectory in the same sort of sense. They take to things differently. He's done more shooting than she has, but she loves archery.
Right. Right.
And this spring she expressed wanting to go turkey hunting. So she did her hunter cert a couple of years ago, scored almost 100 on that, and has been going afield, but hasn't yet wanted to sort of take a life. I mean, she enjoys all the process. She enjoys watching the dog work when we go for birds.
Right.
And
Yeah, it's always interesting dynamics with family. Like, so my older two are twins, and they were kind of following in my footsteps, even if it was just when I came home from a hunt.
Mhm.
And then their younger sister, 3 years younger, when the twins were getting their driver's license, I put their name in for a Carl Malone youth hunt through Pheasants Forever.
Okay.
And this was 20 years ago.
Well, and Carl Malone and I live in the same city here.
No, I didn't know that he was this philanthropic hunter. All right.
Yeah. So he lives in Heber, Utah. And I've run into him next to his dealership at Black Rifle Coffee.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
That's a bring it all together story. But so Jessie went with us because she didn't want to be left out of the hunt. We were going to Kansas, and she wanted to use our home video camera. And she was completely happy doing all the videoing and never asked to, well, she wasn't even old enough or big enough to hold the gun. And to this day, it's got the same trajectory. She loves the dogs. She loves the outdoors, but she's never had a desire to actually hunt.
Mhm.
But she's an outdoors person. I consider her a sports person, a sportswoman. I don't think of the other two doing more for the industry. Some kids they're going to take a certain path, or, you can't make them all fall into step. But it's nice when at least the whole family, and I suggest this to people every once in a while on the podcast, when you get older and your kids start buying you presents, like, I don't know, your kids might not be actually spending their own money yet for your Christmas present, but when they became adults, what they have to do for me was they have to get me, or they have to get themselves a subscription to RGS magazine or Pheasants Forever magazine, Quail Unlimited, or Quail Forever rather. And that way, when I come to their house to visit and see their kids, I've got something to read there. So, like, I'm forcing them to put a few dollars to conservation for my selfish needs, so I have something to read when I get to their house. But there's a lot of ways to get them in. But I'm jumping a little bit. But I love the idea of Chowie, where I could already see, like, we're going to go on a hunting trip. Hey, I got you the newest Chowie t-shirt in their size. Like, I hope other people don't try to. I'm sure you're already established. You've got the engine started. I hope somebody doesn't listen to this and go, I'm doing it too. But on the other hand, there's other podcasts, and I welcome them too.
Well, in terms of other people doing it, I expect it.
Sure.
And what that does for the consumer is, I mean, whether it be in a retail footprint or online, is it opens up the category.
Mhm.
Greater awareness. I mean, I've seen this in action sports with different products in that way. And so then when you have those comers, then you have the juxtaposition of brands.
Right.
So you have the awareness of the category and then what stands out.
Yeah.
And I feel really good about the vision that I have for Chowie. All the sort of back end that's well baked, that's yet deployed.
Right.
And I welcome that because we'll do all right.
Well, I could speak to when I started the podcast. There was no upland bird centric, dog centric, hunting upland centric podcast. In fact, it goes back to another. You mentioned Meat Eater and Steve Ranella. I was with him on a hunt doing a crane hunt, and he put a microphone and a recorder on the kitchen table. We did I didn't know he was starting a podcast. I thought you needed to have a recording studio and an engineer. I'm like, oh, I mean, that's all I need to to have an audio journal of our hunt. And I went right home and bought equipment and started doing it. And I remember when the first or second one came along that said, yeah, I'm going to be the okayest hunter. I'm going to be this pie. There was a moment there where I thought, oh, great competition. But you're 100% right. Upland podcast, what do they say? A rising tide lifts all ships.
For sure.
Yeah, I can see, but I'd still be a little FOMO about it, but I would welcome it too. Just to want you to, I'm glad you're the first.
Well, I mean, I'm aware of other brands with plans to do youth.
Mm-hmm.
Through this action sports experience that I have and all that with youth culture, I don't know that anyone else has that acumen, and
Right.
and it's okay to have sort of multiple visions and have things in complement and contrast,
And
to bring, as I said, just sort of coming back to that mission piece, to bring more kids into hunting
right.
is very much
Yeah.
a goal.
Is Chowie going to concentrate on hunting only or fishing as well? I looked at a lot of the t-shirt designs. I couldn't put them to memory. Is the focus the hunting and the dogs? I want to get into the dogs.
Hunting specific.
Okay, hunting
yes.
specific. Your dog journey. Now, we already know you had a misspent youth on the snowboard, right?
Right.
I'm guessing you might have surfed. Who knows? If
Surf, skated, snowboard.
right. If you got good balance, you're going to do it on water, land, sidewalks, snow.
With a certain level of mediocrity.
Right. Well, good. I'm glad. So you weren't going to the Olympics or anything like that. No.
No.
But
and that was something that I sort of struggled with it for a time, is especially in the sort of editorial roles that I had been in, was that I should be at some pro level. But what I recognized was that I could go toe to toe with any one of those pros in how passionate I was
right.
about
And knowledgeable as well.
and about the culture and all of that. And I feel like almost the same thing a bit in hunt to some degree, because I think of myself from a success standpoint, or success being measured by game on the ground, as more of a recreational hunter than a provisional hunter, which is what I am really aiming for.
Right.
And so, can you walk the walk, talk the talk? And sometimes you might feel outsider or imposter syndrome or whatnot. But when I think it comes down to the sort of ethos and your principles and philosophies around it, I mean, that's where, again, the alignment, I feel like, is has that kinship with Meat Eater.
Yeah.
And the sort of immersive quality and the storytelling and the sort of amazement, and the humor and all of that. But
yeah.
But to the dogs.
The dogs. Get to the good part. When there's always an email in my box. I don't want to say weekly, but certainly monthly. And I always find these comical because being a versatile hunting dog judge, I've gotten to see basically every breed. There's a few new ones that have come out in the last few years, but I mean, all the common breeds and most of the rare breeds. And I'll get an email that says, "Hey, Ron, wondered if you had a minute. We're thinking of getting our first bird dog, and we can't decide between a Weimaraner, an English setter, and an English cocker. Like three completely, like, if they'd have said German Shorthair, Weimaraner, or Vizsla, I said, oh, you like a short-haired breed and you want some speed, right? What was your process for picking the dog, and then tell people what you did or how you did it?
Well, the dog that I have right now is a wire-haired pointing Griffon, Corthal's Griffon.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been some years since we'd been a dog family, had a chocolate, thought myself a Labradork.
A Labradork?
A Labradork.
I have not heard that. I like it.
I think I may have coined it somewhere.
You might, that might be coming on a t-shirt. Labradork.
It would be good for a Facebook group, at least.
Yeah, there you go.
but she didn't have much of a prey drive, even though my plans were to hunt her, and she just didn't get that. And so I missed the dogs. I didn't miss the responsibility and the expense, especially being kind of in the throes of fatherhood of two. My kids now are 15 and 12, but they were hounding me for a dog, especially during kind of that COVID period. And it had been a number of years, and I felt like they were mature enough. My son made a PowerPoint presentation on how they would take care of this dog.
Wow. You knocked it out of the park with that one. I'll a PowerPoint, huh?
It was unexpected, and I've not held them to it.
But the effort, was there.
But the effort was there. And I had encountered a griff on a hike one day, and knew somebody who had a couple, and we'd been going afield a little bit, and certainly the sort of companion aspect of that, and the times that I've chased pheasant or grouse, it sure would benefit to have one
Oh yeah.
versus not. And so my wife had said, was very much interested in another dog. She said, no hunting dog. She just didn't want to deal with that energy again. And I started reading a bit more on the griff, and now having one for nearly 5 years, everything I read was accurate. Field dog to family dog and snapped fingers. And she's just been a pleasure, a pain in the ass, but a pleasure to see her come along. What's that?
So is having babies. It's a pain in the ass.
Well, I mean, it's a perpetual toddler.
Right.
And the 2-year-old, and with the lab, I had read, I think it was Water Dog by Walters.
Yeah.
And more recently, before I got the griff, Joan Bailey's How to Help Gun Dogs Train Themselves, and listened a little bit to the Upland Institute as well. And it was just, what really sort of impressed upon me was exposure.
Sure.
And I don't use electronics. She wears a bell afield. I've got a whistle. She's got great recall. And it is the most ridiculous dog I've ever had. I mean, she's like a moppet. I mean, when somebody says, well, what's a griff look like? And it's like if Chewbacca and Animal, the drummer from the Muppets.
Yeah, it looks like
a dog.
Who was the inventor of the Muppets? Jim. What was
Jim Henson.
Jim. It looks like Jim Henson designed the dog.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, your wife had to be okay with the look then. If she saw the Muppet, right?
Well, I mean, I had mentioned, like, they're kind of early on. I was like, they're kind of ugly to an endearing standpoint. Now, I don't feel that way anymore.
Right.
And long haven't, and feel like I've somewhat become the griff spurrer. I find griffs and connect people and have these groups and get all the cousins together to sort of play at different times. But and I don't have a whole lot of experience with other hunting breeds. I certainly have seen the GSPs and the Vizslas, and families get them who don't hunt, kind of from a vanity standpoint, and
it happens, yeah.
And then those dogs sort of become neurotic in a sense, or they can't kind of turn off that prey drive. When I was speaking with a bunch of different breeders for griffs, they wouldn't sell to non-hunters because they thought it was cool.
That is true sometimes, yeah.
And I appreciated that. And so this is, I mean, I can't say enough about my experience with this one, and I've encountered other griff owners that wish they had gotten a second dog, or somebody who'd gotten a poodle pointer and then a griff, wish they'd gotten the griff first because they would have gotten a second instead of the poodle pointer.
Now we're gonna get emails. That's okay though. I can defend it. I can defend it. Look at me. I've got Broncos. You think you want to talk about stepping out on a plank on a pirate ship? My friends looked at me like, oh, early onset Alzheimer's right there. He got himself a Bronco. So
Well, I've been running into people lately here in Utah with Boykins for the first time and exposure there, and those are curious too. I mean, what they're meant to do. I mean, whenever you see these dogs doing that sort of full send, what they're born and bred to do, it's joyful because you can read it on them, and you feel it in your heart.
yeah, I know all pet. I hate the term pet parents, but in a sense, we are pet parent. We're parents of our pets. But I don't think there's anybody that doesn't have a pet that they're not proud of. But if you got a hunting dog and it hunts on top of being a good pet, yeah, just a little higher level of pride. I think that's, and I've known dozens and dozens of Griffs. I've judged, I don't know, probably 100 of them or better. And it's always been I've just never wanted to deal with the Muppet coat. Now, it can vary from a nice flat laying coat, bristle, harsh flat laying. It could also look like a Jim Henson Muppet. So that's probably the only reason I've stayed away from the breed, because it's hard to get that nailed down. I want to ask you though, because that was your first pointing dog. You had you're a Labrador, which now I'm going to market that before you. Let me go to trademark for a second on my other computer. The process of finding a dog, when you found a breeder that said, okay, like, what was that process? Did you let them help you pick a dog? Did they let you pick one based on your third deposit? How did you decide on it, or how did you help her?
So there was some criteria in speaking to the breeders, certainly from a proximity standpoint to in driving back from that breeder, and what that would sort of take. Some questions certainly about health,
Mm-hmm.
and we had done a trip. So Ada, my Griff, comes from the kennel Riding High Gun Dogs out of Redmond, and we'd done a trip up there earlier in the year. So she got we got to meet the owner,
Yeah.
and the sire and the dam, and he got to meet us.
Yeah.
And so I'm pretty candid and transparent in relaying of information and what we were looking to do and who our family was, and he actually picked a dog for us.
Gotcha. Were you going for female, male versus that, or did it even go to him helping you pick that out?
Going for female.
Okay. And that would just be, you had female dogs in the past, or
Yeah, and the sort of understanding that they tend to work a little closer than the males.
yeah, I would say in general, there's a lot of people that stick with female dogs because they're, so to speak, they're not butting heads with their son when they're out in the field.
Right. And when you, I mean, walking a male dog around the neighborhood is not necessarily enjoyable.
Not all the time. No, not all the time.
But I also, and this, you may get some emails on this, like, now the lab obviously being such a popular breed and so many people breeding and that sort of thing, had a lot of health issues. And I also subscribed to veterinarian practice that I think was problematic to that too. So the Griffs being less popular, less overbred, they've got the real sort of head start there. But I was looking at other sort of factors too.
Right.
And I mean, she eats raw. I'm trying to keep her out of the vet, and in almost 5 years, she's been to the vet twice for wellness exams, and that's it.
Yeah. That's a whole commitment. One of my good friends that's been on the show, Jennifer Broom, she feeds her dogs raw. And I roll my eye. Like, if I had one dog and access, I might think about it. But there's, like, when I go on a hunting trip, this girl goes on a hunting trip, basically has to know that there's another Costco, because she goes on 3-week, 4-week hunting trips, right?
Right.
And she brings a cooler full of chicken thighs.
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm sure your dog loves his food more than my dog loves his Purina, but I just can't go there. But I'm sure the dog he's got to love it. Does that become problematic when you leave some people food around? Because I think of chicken as people food. What,
Well, I mean, she eats human grade. It's feeding one more mouth.
but does she go to your table when you're not there and try to sneak off another?
And, she's good about staying off the counters,
Okay, all right.
and just, then I'm also less worried about what she may be eating afield. I mean, we started jump shooting ducks last year and what she'd get into and trying to wrestle something from her mouth, but it's like she's,
Totally
she's
different.
doing what a dog does.
Right, right. What kind of training did you do with the dog earlier? I mean, besides crate training and socialization, did you do some levels of, you know, come when called and field patterning, or did you do any? Was it a natural retriever? I mean, I would say Griffs would be in the natural retriever category, but depends on how clean you want to retrieve. What was that?
Well, and my understanding with the Griffs is half of them retrieve, half don't.
I've heard the same thing.
Sort of thing. And so it was again a couple of different books and your podcast and I think there was something that stood out on one of the episodes of the Upland Institute of that I think Justin spoke to, of getting dogs that hadn't been out of the backyard as a puppy,
Yeah.
for a year. But
Right.
so mine was just like, even a neighborhood walk, different times of day. If it was a loop, different loops. So into the wind coming in from the side, like all those sorts of things to sort of give them new exposure
Right.
and new insights. And we were close to this sort of, we were living in Northern California at the time, just north of San Francisco, and Ring Mountain Preserve up there, whole trail system that supposed to be on leash, but I just let her go, and the kids and I would go up there morning, evening, and just let her do her thing. And so then it was some treats in pocket and a whistle,
Yeah.
and her recall is damn good,
Yeah.
on that alone. She will chase deer from time to time,
Right.
and so she'll come back. It's just
Oh yeah.
it's
Until she doesn't.
but and then did it's kind of a funny story that I wanted to say for you. Like, uh I've done rattlesnake avoidance training with her twice,
Yeah.
and in San Diego when we'd been living there. I've been meaning to get up to Idaho. I'll go this spring. They do a trifecta, which is rattlesnake, porcupine, and skunk.
Oh wow. That's great.
Yeah, so gonna do that. But she'd done her first rattlesnake training, didn't want anything to do with it. Got just slammed with the collar, that sort of thing. And not long after, my son and I had an opportunity to hunt some private property in San Diego for spring turkey, and we'd hunted there in the fall. Walked in, cat tracks in our boot tracks from the morning on the way out. Like, it's rugged country, and then we got easement through this property that is just outstanding. It's known as the last Mexican land grant in California.
Wow.
It's 36 square miles, so 44,000 acres.
Whew.
I mean, it's untouched. They ranch out there, but it's stunning. So we were hunting out there and had to bring the dog turkey hunting. Logistics at home was such, and just did fine in the blind in the morning. But it's rugged country, very snaky, and turkeys didn't come in early that morning. Trying to figure out where to hunt in the afternoon. We were all sort of sitting in camp midday, and the dog was just kind of free ranging. And I said to my son, I'm like, "Where's Ada?" He's like, "I don't know." And I whistled for her, and here she comes bounding up over this hill, like ears flapping, like pigtails in the wind, and a little bit of concern sort of to be read across her muzzle. Chasing her down on her 6 was a 1,500-pound cow. She tried to befriend
Oh, great.
a couple of calves, and mama wasn't having any of it.
Oh.
You know, and all these years hunting, you always sort of like wonder in the clutch, bear, cat, are you going to be able to perform? And so this was like, this was my moment. And there was another father and son there, and they scrambled into their rig, and my son into ours, and it became like a Matrix moment, Ron. Like everything slowed down. And here's this dog coming in, and here's these cows.
All coming.
And what's also going through my head is a wonderful archery instructor in Northern California named Marilyn Dutra, and her husband are in the Archery Hall of Fame together, and they've got a 600-acre working cattle ranch in Petaluma. And Steve, her husband, had been only a few weeks earlier sort of mauled by a rogue cow that wasn't even one of theirs, put in the hospital, that sort of stuff. So all this is coming to me while my dog,
It's all in your head right now.
and I pulled my pistol and chambered around and fired directly over the back of the dog into the dirt in front of the cow, and stopped it at about 25 feet.
Oh, I mean, that's like our version of a grizzly charge.
Well, and so besides rattlesnake avoidant, I think hopefully cattle as well at this point.
But
it's
that's a
it's one of those stories that one of those experiences that sort of go down for me and my son. It reminds me in a way of some of Patrick McManus stories
Yeah.
that we love.
That's a first for me. And now I've run into cows, and we got one young dog a friend of mine had that was stirring up a herd of cows, but there was no mama chasing them all the way back to the truck store. I think you might be the only one. I know you're the only one I've heard of. I'm sure it's happened to somebody, but
Right.
that would scare the crap out of me. And so now we got to add cow avoidance at some point.
Right. And the skunk porcupine will be good. We've got some porcupines around. I recently sort of had some conversation with another Griff owner, and his dogs have been quilled 3 times.
Yeah.
So, a little hard-headed in that way. And Ada, on some bird training or some field training a couple falls ago, she found a dead skunk and reveled in rolling around in it.
Sure. Why not?
So,
Wouldn't they?
to curb that in terms of training, but started to do some shed hunting and using an antler and those sort of the scent sticks.
Yeah.
And so I live in the Uintas, in that range, and where I'm speaking to you from is of an elevation of just 7,500 feet.
Gotcha.
And I've got moose off my deck, and deer, and she just goes on lock. You just see her legs vibrating with adrenaline and excitement. And I've got grouse on my property, and it's funny because you sort of speak to field dog to family dog. She'll scratch at the door to let me know she needs to go pee.
Right.
But I open that door and she snaps into prey drive, and it takes half a mile of walking just to get her to take a leak.
Yeah, she's busy. She's a little busy. Let me ask you this. I'm kind of in the same category, which people find amazing. I think all my dogs have felt, well, not my little cocker. I don't know anybody that I put a small collar on her it is a Garmin TT25.
Mhm.
I've never touched the button on her. It's just a dog I don't have to do with. But my pointing dogs, I've never trained them for a test with a collar. Like everything I've done has come from, a riding crop, a check cord, a table. But they've had electricity, they've had stimulation, like for trained retrieve, low stimulation. If they were chasing deer, did that avoidance training have an effect at all on your Griff because you're not one to use the e-collar for training, or was it just maybe it was the best thing in the world because she's never felt the tickle of electricity? Any way to know?
I mean, the reason that I don't use it is I'm just not familiar with it as
Well,
a
that's a
as a
good reason
trainer.
not to, but I would say that the tracking part, the peace of mind you get from tracking, that's the nice part.
For sure. And there's been times where, especially when she's gone after deer, you can't hear that bell anymore, sort of thing.
Right.
Um, but I think of myself as a jack of all, master of some,
Mhm.
and quite resourceful in things, but it's like and practical. So I find things that work for me in certain ways, and I use those, and so I didn't necessarily feel like I needed the corrections. I mean, there's jokes of like, you probably know this more or can access this more, but like, you know, the more common dog name a field on opening day with owners that use electronics to sort, like they're yelling at their dog because their dog's not doing
Right.
what they're sort of, remote controlled to do.
Right.
And I was questioning this and had this opportunity to connect with a trainer here in Utah, Brett Wanacott, who trains Llewellyns, and was just questioning, should I be using electronics? And he spoke to, and I can't recall if he does or doesn't. I'm sure he has, but he spoke to giving a dog its head. And I think even again on the Upland Institute, there might have been some conversation at one point of like farm dogs, those that are out there that are bird dogs, but are learning by experience.
Right.
And that was something in Joan Bailey's book too, is that, the adage of you can't teach an old dog new tricks is not accurate if they've been exposed and they're always learning. They know how to learn,
Right.
sort of thing. So, so that sort of gave me a little bit of a pass on not using stimulus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had intended to do the field test, natural ability with Navda, but got jammed up on some other things. So she's not gone through that. What I've seen her in ways that she's come along have been as a result of just time afield.
That's what most dogs really could use more of, as opposed to just a training grounds once a week with a group. Yeah, more exposure, more puppy walks, more adventures. Yeah, they're gonna learn a lot of things.
Hide and seek. We play a lot of hide and seek.
Yeah.
I mean, still.
With yourself, and I don't mean that funny.
Yeah.
That's a no. I've got friends of mine that every dog they've ever raised, they play hide and seek with. I've never done it.
She absolutely loves it. And it's funny to watch her like blaze by and then all of a sudden course correct and come back.
Right.
And I had like her training, as I said, there was some things that impacted my life personally that sort of slowed my investment in her, and felt regretful about it, but it was just how things were. And so moving to Utah a couple years ago, all of a sudden gained all this access, and we started hunting grouse together, and she'd find birds and she'd bust them with the grouse, although now she's sort of steady to shot. I'm finding, and just by experience, but she'd visually and verbally locate that bird, pick it up, and then spit it out because she just didn't have that familiarity with feathers. A little bit with some of the Nobda stuff we did, but again, extremely limited there. So that same season, the more and more she was encountering grouse, the more and more I saw her kind of coming along, and had this milestone, this breakthrough. I was hunting a 160-acre property of a friend of mine in northern Utah on a snowy day, and we put up unexpectedly a bunch of huns, and I dropped one, crippled it in this steep, deep snowy ravine, and she just went. She found it and she retrieved to hand. I was just like, wow. And the same thing, yeah, and the same thing that season. Duck hunting was the first time I was duck hunting in 30 years, and as you know, like the Griffs aren't typically water dogs unless they have a lot of acclimation to it.
Right. No one's going to buy one specifically to be a duck dog. Right.
And we had this day out at Willard Bay, and we walked out there. Had some other times out there that were sort of dynamic, but this one was very unexpected. She put up a rooster way out there in the tules.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I sent you a photo of this. I got that rooster, and 5 minutes later she put up 2 mallards, and I got the drake, and then I took a shoot. I can't remember what duck I took on the water, but she did her first water retrieve.
Right.
And I've got it on video. I mean, and it was just exposure. It was just time and time again. It wasn't routine.
Right. You didn't go in the backyard and practice somebody throwing a duck. So you just kept exposing her to hunting, and her natural abilities shine through. And that's what they should do. They should. That's what they're bred for. Yeah.
I mean, the feather on the fishing pole, I heard pros and cons to that. Did a little bit of it.
Yeah. It's sight pointing. It'll certainly, if you see a puppy sight point a feather on a string, I've probably never seen one that didn't point birds later on, but they're not pointing that feather on a string because they're smelling a bird in a search. You dance it around, and just like a cat, they're like, oh, what was that? So I mean, if you saw a little bit of that with the dog, if you did it, I mean, that I know people who will do that. Once they see that, they're gonna be fine.
Yeah, I did some wings on some canvas dummies.
Mm-hmm.
Or drug those and threw them. When we walk in the neighborhood, she would go on point at 4 months old. And then I relate a story to you where we were hunting this pheasant property one fall, and she was about that age. Took her out very, very early. And my son and I tag teamed a rooster. It took about 10 minutes to sort of find the bird, kept calling in the dog. I ultimately picked it up. She smelled it and just cued to it, and 5 minutes later went on point on a rooster.
Yeah.
So you just see those moments, even in the sort of frustration of, well, she's not doing what she's supposed to do, but again, give her head.
Give her some opportunity. Give her a head. A good friend of mine in Virginia, he's on his 3rd Griff, and he's about 8 years older than I am. He's always gone to the Griffon Club, like a rescue club. Somebody will, dog could be too much. Somebody dies in the family. And I love the fact that all the breed clubs, especially if they're AKC breed clubs, they have to have a rescue vein of their organization. And that way you're putting them back into hands of people who are looking for them. And I remember his second one, we were just teasing because he had one that wouldn't retrieve, right? And we were hitting some preserves in Virginia, and that dog finally saw our dogs retrieve so many times. It shocked Bill. That dog all of a sudden went and grabbed a quail that he shot, like yours, and just brought it back to him. And Bill he had just like a little tear. It's like, oh my God. He was so ecstatic. And I think that dog too, it would have done the same thing if he wasn't with other dogs. But I think it sped up the process, because she would go and chase toward the bird.
Right.
And the other dog would pick it up, and she wasn't a dog that she had just never done it. She was forfeited by some family to the rescue, and then Bill, so it just wasn't exposed to it, and she kind of had her head that day. She says, "Oh, I could do this." Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, when you inevitably expect, this is in life, a certain outcome, chances are you'll be disappointed.
Could be.
If you sort of expect the unexpected, and kind of to your point of that dog learning, again, the conversation that I had with that trainer, Brett, was he was working with a friend's dog that was a pointer, but she just kept flushing. So he's like, we just worked with what she had. and utilize that. And then ultimately she became a great pointer.
Right.
So it's in that way that, I mean, whether it be a brand, whether it be a dog,
Right.
if you pay attention, if you're astute and intuitive and kind of learn that language between the two of you, I think there's not simply that bond, but that this understanding of how that dog is going to work and limits the sort of frustration, and then you're able to sort of capitalize upon its successes.
Yeah. And what it inherited, like I always go back to, the 100 years plus that these dogs have been bred. You're that uncle, grandparent, great great grand, that's going to come out in that dog eventually. But I'm not at all I would tell so many people at our training grounds locally, just go hunt your dog. Just go hunt your don't don't do so much practice in the yard. Just like you said, take it out, take it out. Good things will happen. I mean, 90% of the time. I mean, there is always the porcupine they could get into and, send you to the vet. Did you say your dog did get into a porcupine?
No, she didn't.
She did.
She didn't.
She did.
Just a skunk. Let's go skunk.
Yeah. Which that's just a matter of some Dawn dish detergent and some
And time.
and time. Because that coat's gonna hold some odor.
You've got so much experience and expertise, and can speak to this that much more, but and may have, but the little exposure that I've had to Navda was so dynamic.
Yeah.
Initially intimidating to think about just showing up and being behind on the dog and all of that, but what a community.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it is.
I even noted there was a woman there with her breeder, and I think she had a Vizsla. And I really sort of respected this. This woman didn't hunt, and she didn't intend to hunt.
Right.
She would go to these events to put the dog through its paces, to do what it was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I really appreciated that, but would, encourage anyone, if they get a versatile hunting dog breed, to engage with that community, because it's really supportive.
Yeah, it's as on the local chapter level, there probably isn't a better place to go for a new owner and a new dog. But you said if you go there and you just sit on the tailgate and wait for someone, you got to engage a little bit. But that's the intimidating part, because you're seeing other dogs walking really good on a leash, and you're seeing other dogs out in the field. You're like, oh,
Two dogs backing each other up.
right. You're like, oh, I shouldn't be here.
Right.
Me and my dog should not be here. But in time, yeah, it is a great group. How did so it was 5 years ago. So the kids were besides the PowerPoint demonstration, like how we're going to help take care of the kids and how that may or may not have came through. Are overall, is your wife and the kids, like, are you guys going to have a dog now forever?
So
Is
the
that
wife, the wife said not another hunting dog.
Oh, already?
Previously. I still miss her.
Okay.
She's my ex now, but it's all amenable, and I'm first hounded for a dog, now rallying for puppies, and I've been saying no way.
No way.
Now I'm saying, let me look into it. I've got a buddy that is breeding draughts, so I'm going to speak to him about some insights around the process. I think it'd be great for the kids to be involved and have that. We would like a second dog in the lineage of Ada. She's just so damn good.
Andy, that goes back to, and this happened with many of my, not many, I shouldn't say, a handful. If you can go back to your breeder, if he sees your dog, likes your dog, I'll bet you any money he would help you set something up. Because
I ran into somebody last weekend. Thank you, Ron, for that suggestion.
Yeah.
We've got a great dog park in Park City called Run Amok. and ran into two griffs last weekend and got the people's information, and they happen to be neighbors of mine in this area that I live. And so we're talking about it, and Ada coming heat soon, and again, a lot of responsibility around that, but I've got a good dog here and always learning.
Let's go back to Chowie a little bit because I want to.
Chewie's the dog food brand, but Chowie.
I know I did that when we were on a phone call. It just comes out Chowie. I'm sorry. Chowie.
That's okay.
I like it because I am going to get some for the grandkids because I want them to early identify as a early Chowie
Early adopter.
early influencer. How's that? Yeah.
I like that.
I'll get a group kid a picture of all my grandkids wearing Chowie. How's that?
Fantastic. Well, and I also want to extend to your listeners a discount if they want to check things out. And we can kind of put that in the show notes, that discount code. We've got a couple of dog shirts. Ada is our mascot, and
Of course.
and we're conservation contributive even from early on. So with some teas, they go to 10% of sales goes to Pheasants Forever. Elk teas go to Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, National Wild Turkey Foundation. Just the alignment in that way and making a difference from day one.
Right. But it's like not thinking later on and doing it out of guilt. You did that with forethought, building the brand. Yeah, that it was going to be part of conservation. Yeah.
Well, there's an additional piece outside of the brand in process of a nonprofit, FFEC, Future Factors of Enduring Conservation.
Okay.
And I'm in the process of setting that up. Congressman Burgess Owens here in Utah was one of the advocates for the Protect Hunting and Heritage Act that passed a few years ago, nearly unanimously, which protects taxpayer funds and education, public schools for gun safety, archery, and culinary. So there is an interest in this, and what I want to do with that foundation is high school and middle school assemblies. Again, in that intent of bringing more into the fold of fall.
And you bring a dog in with that assembly, and you've got the attention right off the bat, right?
Certainly.
especially a Chewbacca, like Ada. You know how many? I got a feeling that there is a lot of griffs out there called, going back to Chewie-Baka. I bet you there's got to be a handful called Chewbacca.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I have thought about dressing her up for Halloween to look like a Wookiee.
Yeah, all you'd have to do is give her a laser gun.
But she also could be a Highland cow.
Oh, that's true, I guess.
Just like the Steve Martin arrow through the head look. Instead of that, you've got horns, and she already wears the bell.
There you go. You're 2/3 of the way there. Well, so the high school assembly stuff program, that's just like in a 1-2 year vision. That's just something that's coming along. You haven't done that yet?
Haven't done that yet. Have a lot of sort of back end planning that's been done in terms of the sort of curriculum. And I think that I think there's a lot of, I think of the barriers to entry in hunting. And certainly if you're not coming up in it, if you don't have that family.
Yeah.
I'm a first generation hunter, as far as I know, raising for first generation or next generation hunters with my kids. And unless there's that mentorship, it's intimidating. It's the same thing in some ways, wanting to get into skateboarding or surfing or snowboarding and going into some specialty retail shop. It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
You feel beginner to say the least, and being really self-conscious about that. And so I think there's different ways to meet these kids where they're at.
Yeah.
And develop something. So even just what I'm thinking from a curriculum standpoint, and why high school and middle school assemblies is as I touched upon when we talked prior to this call, was if you remember those, we didn't care what they were. They got us out of class. They got us sitting next to our best friends, and sometimes they were interesting. And so then that's just one other jumping off point
Right.
in this way. So then how do we plug into other organizations? What's next? I've had some ongoing conversations over the last couple of years with California Waterfowl Association and what they do, and they've got something called Camp Sprig, which is 2 to 3 days of immersion for these kids. They get their hunter safety done, they do duck banding, they get some archery happening, and it's a starting off point for them. It's that next sort of engagement. I think storytelling brings us into engagement, into things that are compelling, because you want to have an experience like that firsthand for yourself. And so there's a lot involved here. And in terms of sort of going back to competitors, future competitors, I'm far out in front of anything that
Right.
will come my way in terms of the sort of thought process, strategically, creatively, the iterations of all that, and then through the lens that I'm shooting it.
Yeah. So when people want to look it up, they look up Chowie hunting, right?
ChowieHunting.com,
ChowieHunting.com.
on Instagram at Chowie Hunting, and you're going to see something different than what's known and expected in hunting.
Yeah. I'm scrolling on my other screen here, not to look away from our screen, but yeah, I'm already picking the ones out for my grandkids.
Well, thank you. And in terms of the outerwear that's in development,
Yeah, that's great.
there is certain considerations. There are the brands that are doing the takedown product. There is the retail brand that has the largest offering of youth product at the lowest price point, and everyone knows that's garbage. So it's building value proposition into our outerwear. That's from a purpose-built, lifestyle versatile approach, leaning in on a streetwear aesthetic. So from the standpoint of how many days a kid gets a field, how many hours in that day, and that rapid sort of growth cycle that you're experiencing, constructing apparel in fabrication, in manufacturing, and in aesthetic that works off the mountain, beyond the blind, out of the field, ranging around town. You've got your kid going to flag football, or out to dinner, or snowboarding, and
Okay.
the plan is this product gives you reach and range,
And a bit of an identity also, right?
and yeah, and dirt of use.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times when I first got into NAVDA, they had a very distinct circular sticker that when you join NAVDA, you got this 4 or 5 inch round circle. And when I'd be hunting somewhere or even on the highway, I would see that. Like, you remember the AAA? Everybody had oval AAA,
Right.
under cars. If they broke down, and they could call AAA. I started seeing that, and it was the same thing. I was like, I know that person's going to help me fix a flat tire.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go back to what I said in the beginning. The kid goes to a new school and somebody else is wearing Chowie. He's like, hey, mom, hey, dad, can I go over to this new kid's house? He's wearing Chowie.
Yeah.
I like it. I think it's a great idea, Andy. I think it's
Thank you. That's what I'm aiming for. And so now it's about, in this sort of early stage before a lot of deployment of things that have been devised, it's building brand heat and momentum for our first product drops that are pretty specialized. With the sort of scarcity model, but outerwear, mid layer, first layer, accessories are all forthcoming.
Well, that's exciting. You'll have to let me know when that's back up. I don't check websites every day, but I want to know when that's coming up.
Yeah,
So
I'll keep you posted on that. And as I've extended once before, if you want to get out for some grouse hunting again, Ron, and trek cross country,
As long as you can show me, as long as you can show me the spot where I can carry the gun with the hope of seeing a bird without walking 3 miles up a hill first.
I got a spot.
Okay, that's all I got.
Yeah, there's duskies up there.
Yeah.
So the bigger birds.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember when I did that episode with Steve as we were coming down the last day, him and I got into an argument about how hard it was to get there. And he's like, "Well, that's what makes it special." I'm like, "Yeah, for you, I'm I'm in the fourth quarter here. I want to drive and get out of my truck. I don't mind going on a birdless hunt. I just don't want to go on a birdless hike to go hunt, you know?" So
Well,
I may take you up on it when who knows? Who knows?
yeah, well,
My grandkid.
the suck and the suffer that he speaks to
Yeah.
is what you remember and what brings you back.
That's true.
And the gun in hand, the dog at your side compels you out there. If it
Oh,
was
it
just
does.
for a hike, certainly the kids would not join me. But if Ada's doing something,
Right.
it's that much more interesting to them and likely to come along and join. So
Well, it's a good path. I'm glad you got a hold of me, Andy.
thank
So
you, Ryan.
people who want to look that up, look up chowiehunting.com. And then you're gonna develop a promo code for listeners I can put in there, like HTP10 or something something simple like that. I don't know what it'll be.
Exactly. That's it.
Will you let me know if that's it formally?
Yeah, that's it formally. Yep.
All right, HDP10. And you can get a few bucks off your Chowie t-shirt for your favorite kid, favorite niece, favorite nephew, favorite grandkid. In my case, it'll be all grandkids.
And contribute to conservation organizations in that too.
At the same time. You know, lastly, I strongly suggest, now you may have already planned it,
Please.
but Pheasant Fest will be in Omaha. And, you know, Pheasant Fest does a lot of youth promotion. And I could see a Chowie booth in our Hunting Dog Podcast complex because we always have a big space with some of my other sponsors. So I strongly encourage you to come out with your lineup to Pheasant Fest in Omaha and just bump that Chowie right off the dock.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. We just had the Western Conservation or Western Hunt and Conservation Expo here in Salt Lake, which they see something like 70,000 attendees over the 4 days, and 20% is youth.
Wow,
But
that's great.
It's
great.
it's important and it's special and it's rewarding in this process.
All right, everybody.
Thank you for being involved.
You bet. Andy Blumberg with chowiehunting.com. I'm going to kill the record button and I'm going to ask him a couple questions off microphone that you're not entitled to listen to.